let's go, baby. Wire to Wire Sports Podcast Show
Jesus,
114.
good Lord.
I'm fired up, mother man. Let's go. I'm your happy host, Jimmy Walzak. I'm in a merry, merry mood. We're getting near Christmas. I'm getting my shopping done. How y'all feeling tonight? I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. To my upper left, I got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Cuttrell.
Gene, I'm not quite as merry as you right now, but I'm feeling good though. I'm ready to roll.
Why not?
I don't know. You're at like a 12.
I'm a 12-1.
You're like a 12 right now. I'm at like 9.1. You know, it's just levels to it, I guess.
-1. I'm 11. All right, in my upper right corner, I got Uncle Shally, Scholastic Shally. We got so many nicknames for the man. How you feeling tonight, Bill Shallcross?
Other than being deaf, I'm feeling pretty good.
Listen, man, I don't know what to tell you. I apologize. I scream. I get heavy. I get into it. I'm just fired up. And if you're not fired up, you're not
sound like Miles Sanders laying blocks on Sunday.
Listen, I'm fired up. Listen, at the end
Did you see that clip, Cottrell?
I did.
I didn't see it.
Oh, so
he's mic'd up.
He was mic'd up on Sunday, and he kept telling everybody he was gonna go out and sound like Bobby Boucher from Waterboy. And there was the one play came up, it was a Jalen Hurts design run, and he came up the middle and just smoked somebody. Sounded just like Boucher, and he went nuts. It was really funny. It's an easy clip to find. Yeah, it's so funny.
Gotta check it out. Looks like we're live on all platforms. Yes, we are. We're on Twitch now. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube through Sports Empire Network. We also got a promo with SeatGeek, promo code SEN. We got a lot going on tonight, so let's get started. Bowl Mania. We are going to have Bowl Mania. It's going to be a thing. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen, it is a zero entry fee, no cost to you. You can join, no $20. We talked about that before. It's going to be $0 for everyone to join. Now, listen, all the people out there, Ty Allen, Joe Tillman, there's two other people I have on my list. Scott, we owe y'all hoodies. We got new hoodies coming. We got new merch coming. The logo is just created. It's like a Christmas gift, right? We got the new logo. It's fire. We are going to unveil it on the show next week. So this, those three hoodies, obviously, for the winners prior. We have a replacement hoodie, which is the fourth. And then this person right here, next two, we'll do two. Top two people that finish in Bowl Mania with the most wins will win a brand new hoodie each. So if you want a shirt or a t-shirt or a long sleeve tee instead, you're more than welcome. Just let me know. If you get a long sleeve t-shirt or a t-shirt, I might be able to throw a hat in or something. But at the end of the day, we're going to give two pieces of merch away for free. Whoever wins Bowl Mania. And you don't have to beat any of us. I know no one's beaten last year's winner, Shally, this year's regular season champ, Cottrell. I'm not anywhere near these guys, so you don't have to worry about beating them too. If you beat me, you're good. You're in. You're in there like swimwear. But I'm ready to go, man. How y'all feeling?
Let's go. Let's
do it.
So my first question I would want to ask you guys is what bowl game are you most looking forward to that is not part of the college football playoff?
I mean, I said this right when it got announced because I think it's going to be a good game. I picked two. The one I'm most excited about, big game bowl-wise, I think it's the Rose Bowl for me. I think Penn State-Utah match up very well. I think that's going to be a great game, assuming everybody doesn't opt out of it. But, we've all talked about our fondness for Pasadena. All three of us have, Big Ten roots, if you want to stay in college football. So I think the Rose Bowl is going to be great. Utah was there last year and put on the instant classic with Ohio State. We all remember that game. It was probably the best game of the bowl season, to be honest. And then you have Penn State, hometown team, their season around towards the end. And, that's Gene likes to always say, styles make fights. And That is two teams that want to do the same thing pretty much. So I think that's going to be a really good game. The other game I'm looking forward to is the Alamo Bowl. Texas at Washington. Quinn Ewers, Michael Penix Jr., who announced he's coming back for his 5th year. Washington was, debatably one of the hottest teams in the country the last month of the season. Texas is that team that has shown flashes all year of of them being back to where we think they're going to be. And, they show the talent, Quinn Ewers, Xavier Worthy, Bijan Robinson. He hasn't announced what he's doing yet, so I'm hoping he plays. But I won't be surprised if he doesn't. But if all those stars align and everybody shows up for that game, I think that's got a barn burner potential on it as well. So those are the two for me.
Well, I mean, the reason I asked you for one is I didn't want you to steal my two because they're both mine. But Texas versus Washington is mine, bro. Like
that is actually funny because that was one of the ones I got too.
I can't wait to watch it. Quinn Ewers, Michael Penix Jr. Like it's definitely Bijan Robinson, Xavier Worthy. I think it's a great game. I think that Xavier Worthy and Bijan Robinson both opt out and make it a little bit less of a great game, if I'm giving my honest opinion. But that's what I think as of right now, as it all stands. I'm looking most forward to that game.
I'll say the one thing about that game,
isn't he?
He is, but there's rumors that he's going to hit the portal, and that'd be the only reason why he would opt out. I don't know necessarily. I don't know why he would hit the portal. I feel like him being with Ewers and him being the clear number one target there, I feel like that's like a great situation for him. So I don't know if there's stuff behind the scenes there. He's in Texas. They can give him money. Texas is not shy when it comes to giving their guys money.
Get me started on the portal, bro. It's free agency in college football. It's absolutely a joke.
I don't think Xavier Worthy is leaving Texas it'll be probably equal money. I think there's more stuff behind the scenes there. Texas isn't losing a kid for money reasons. I don't believe that.
That's just weird to me thinking he would leave though with Ewers already there. I mean, in worst case scenario, you've Archie coming in behind him. I mean, that's I don't know. I mean, again, I tend to
me that screams stuff behind the scenes.
Kind of screams money to me too, though. Like, I mean, you're leaving. You can argue top 10 quarterback situation in the country next year. I don't know why you would leave that. I mean, again, it could be something going on behind the scenes, but it also could be, somebody's like, hit the portal and you come here and we'll give you this, this, and this. I mean, I'm sure, Cottrell, you saw the headline today that Ohio State said they lost that kid because, he said pretty much, you can't offer me $1.8 million, don't talk to me. And they were like, okay. And they just lost a 4-star kid like that. It's nuts, man. These kids it's crazy. It's getting out of hand already.
You can't offer me $1.8 million.
So he said he signed with Georgia. Georgia's giving him $800,000 the first year and breaking it down the rest for every year he stays after that. But literally told Ohio State, you can't match 1.8, I'm out. Like, don't even bother. Don't bother coming to my house again. Nothing.
That ruffled a lot of feathers within everybody, like in the Ohio State community. But then people were there were certain people who were on the side of we have to raise more money to get them more money to get recruits, stuff like that. There was other people on the other side like, hey, we've raised plenty of money. CJ Stroud has a good deal. Njigba has a good deal. These kids are getting good deals to come to Ohio State. If he doesn't want to come be a part of it. What'd you say?
And Njigba got a great deal. Sweetheart deal.
He got a hurt hamstring.
Get all year and make some money.
Lower his draft stock. Yeah, that's the best deal smoking.
And Njigba got that backup quarterback money. What he got?
Problem with Njigba though is you could say that all you want, but it's not like he was Jamar Chase, going into this year. I don't think Njigba showed that he's gonna be.
Whoa. What? Don't act like what Jamar Chase did was worse than what Smith and Njigba.
Oh, no. I'm not comparing their situations. I'm not comparing their situations. I'm comparing their talent. Like Jamar Chase could sit out a year and he was still and I think no doubt about it, going to go to the league, be a superstar. As good as I think Jackson Smith and Njigba is, he was never the no doubt about it. Did I think he could be the first receiver off the board in this class? Absolutely. But he's not no doubt about it. He doesn't have that luxury to just sit and still be the first receiver taken. I think there's a chance that he slips to the late first round, maybe even second round, depending on how everything tests. So I don't think he got the best part of this deal. Him being hurt and having a questionable hamstring. I don't see how this benefits him.
Talking about a guy had one good game, going to get picked in the first round.
Okay. He didn't have one good game. He had
great,
better numbers.
Great game in the Rose Bowl.
That's what you saw. If you look at his numbers for the whole season, he had better numbers than Olave and Garrett Wilson last year. Before the Rose Bowl.
Better receivers. They're the 1 and 2. He was in the slot most of the year, so
and he had better numbers than them. So
okay,
yeah, exactly. People like me and Gene cover him in the slot. He should be open all the time.
So how many times does the guy, even if you're in the slot, have better numbers than the guys on the outside? Like that's
when you have
especially when you have two studs on the outside like Wilson and Olave. Like it's not like the kid doesn't have talent.
I'm not saying he doesn't have talent. We're just saying that he benefited greatly from having Olave and Wilson next to him last year.
Before this whole injury happened, everybody came into the season talking about Njigba being the best receiver in the country. So let's not act like
Ohio.
No, okay, all right. We got to run back. Hey, don't worry. I'll pull tape.
I don't care. I just like troll. I like trolling Ohio State, and I think that if you have a chance to play for a national championship and you opt out over a hamstring injury.
If you're hurt and you pulled the same hamstring twice,
Tish, what up? Tish, let me ask you a question real quick. You pulled your hamstring in September and then re-pulled it in October. You think you can play football at the end of December, early January? Just wondering.
Well, you pulled it in August 1st, and then you pulled it again in September, then again in October. That would be the accurate way to put it. He tried to come back twice.
I mean, if it takes that long to heal, man, I mean, I would have issues with that. I mean, 100% honest.
2.0.
Not even trolling. Like if he's
exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's costing him a lot of money.
Timmy Todd, what's up, my man? I like the picture, new profile picture. My man, it's looking like he's a Heisman Trophy winner. But
just get back on track though. The Alamo Bowl was the one I'm definitely the most looking forward to. You got Michael Penix and Quinn. The nice thing about that is I don't see Michael Penix hitting the portal. I think he had a great year at Washington. I think he would try to run that back and build on his draft stock, all that. And Quinn, I don't see him hitting the portal either because I think, he showed what he could do at Texas. And I know Arch is coming next year, but I don't see why you wouldn't just redshirt Arch and just go from there. I think Texas can be legit contenders if Quinn is there and you get the right offense around him.
I think Quinn's been inconsistent enough to where that's going to be a competition next year. Not saying Archie's going to win it, but I think they're going to give him a shot. The other bowl game that I was really looking at Alabama and Kansas State in the Sugar Bowl. I'm all but sure Bryce Young's going to opt out of that one. Probably Jahmyr Gibbs, their running back as well. But Saban was lobbying that Alabama should be in the college football playoff, and in a roundabout way, it was kind of disrespecting Kansas State. TCU saying that was TCU's loss and that they should get in, things like that. I definitely don't think Saban respects that Kansas State team, and I think that's a lot of bulletin board material for those Wildcats over there. So I think it'll be real interesting to see Kansas State go up against the Saban team.
Out either.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're gonna have full strength there. Deuce Vaughn will be in the backfield there. Will Howard is probably going to start quarterback there. Like those guys are going to have a little chip on their shoulder. Like, hey, we beat Bama this game. Maybe we start out next year in the top 5, top 6, something like that. Maybe we're having college football playoff aspirations next year. So I think that game will be real interesting, especially with Bama's opt-outs.
I think that's what makes Pick'em tough. I mean, because we're gonna have a lot of you got to pick everything by Friday.
You have to lock them in right before the game, so you can switch them all the time.
I know, but it's just a lot to keep. It's just a lot to keep up with. Yeah, you can change them all the way up until kick, but
follow the point spread. Vegas knows before you do.
Point spread, and again, I mean, just
that's why that game's interesting. Bama's only a 3-point favorite in it. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they're definitely waiting on it.
On Bama, and they don't realize how many people are not going to play in that game.
Yeah.
There's no chance
If it's
Will Anderson plays.
No.
I actually think there's a chance Bryce Young. I think there's a chance Bryce Young plays. I don't think there's any shot Will Anderson plays.
I don't see Bryce Young playing
Why
that
would
game.
Bryce play? Number 1 pick in the draft right now.
I think because I think that's what type of kid Bryce is. I think Bryce is going to play.
I don't think Saban lets him play.
Bro, I'll tell you right now. One of the coolest things, I don't want to get off topic. One of the coolest things ever was listening to Nick Saban's press conference talking about Henry Ruggs when he was at Alabama. And if someone would have took his keys and he never had a problem here. I'll tell you right now, if I was a parent and listen, I know the whole stigma behind Alabama and they're paying players, but like that's the type of coach where I'd want people to play for. Like that was so cool. I love the way he handled that. But if you didn't see the video, it's a great video. It's a great video. Someone should have took his keys and he never had a problem here and he was a good kid. And now he's in jail and he lost his career, talking about what he did. But he deserves to be where he deserves. He deserves to be where he is. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, I really love that video.
I mean, it's great to hear from a coach. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not up to somebody to take Ruggs' keys. It's Ruggs' responsibility to give his keys to somebody else. So,
I don't.
Yeah, but listen, there's nobody more loyal to their players than Nick Saban. There's a lot of things you could say about him and so forth and so on. But
would you like compare him to the Calipari, like to college?
Yeah, he's tough, man. He's tough. He is the double threat of taking kids that have been told that they're amazing, and he has no problem. He has the clout that he can tell them to their face that they stink, but then in the same breath tell you we're going to make you better. And that is there's not a lot of coaches that could do that. So and then to be successful as he's been, he has the clout and he has the track record to back it all up. So yeah, if Nick Saban gets in your face and starts yelling at you, you don't show up Nick Saban. You don't see anybody show up Nick Saban like you do other coaches. If he's in your grill and he's yelling at you, you're going to listen to him. But at the same time, he does care about his players. He cares about them. He wants to make them better. He wants to get them to the NFL, and he does a damn good job at it. Yeah, I think
that they help so much. These coaches help so much when they have these players that are 100% going to the NFL. Like Bryce Young, before he went to Alabama, was already a projected first-round draft pick. Like that's essentially like who he was. He was getting $1 million before he stepped on the field. And I think that that's so important to have a coach that understands what your aspirations are. Like, the most important thing for these kids, and I hate saying this sounds terrible, but for Will Anderson, for Bryce Young, for any of these guys, the most important thing isn't to win football games. It's to make it to the NFL and get paid. And that's for anybody that's in college football, any of those top tier stars.
I don't disagree with you, but I think one of the things that makes a Saban and a a Dabo and even a Ryan Day, it's keeping the kids' best interests at heart, but still getting them to buy into the culture of you're there to win. You win football games. Winning football games makes you better on top of all your individual accolades. Like you said, getting Bryce Young to buy into the Alabama, culture, with $1 million in his pocket when he steps on campus and not being like, hey, I just want to put up for numbers here for 2 years, go to the NFL and get the hell out of here. That's not what he is. And that's part of it.
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
these kids' number one goal is to make it to the NFL and support their family for the rest of their lives, and to be able to be that type of coach to get them to buy into the system and do that while and win games when they're.
But I think a big part of that though too is how much he's built up that culture. Of course their ultimate goal is to go to the NFL and stuff, but I think a lot of these kids, they come from these prestigious high schools where they won 3-4 state championships and things like that. Like they're these 4 or 5-star kids that they're not accustomed to losing. And so for Saban, I know if I go here, I'll make it to the NFL. But at the same time, I know if I go here and we're 10-2 on the season, our season is looked at as a failure. So you're just getting held to a higher standard, not only, come towards the NFL, but a lot of these kids, most of them probably don't know what it's like to lose. Like chances are Nick Saban's not recruiting a kid that's on a 3-7 football team where he's the star, but they're just used to losing. These are prep school kids that are at these big time schools that for the most part, aren't used to losing. So I think they originally go there, yes, to make it to the NFL, but they also go because they want to leave with as many rings as possible on their finger. And they know if they go to Bama and they're there at least 3 years, their chances are they're going to at least leave with one, maybe more.
Just want to shout out the chat real quick. Yo, thank you so much for
Freddie,
Melvin Johnson, my man Freddie Henderson, Ty Owens, Mike. Listen, the Con Man, Michael Con Siek. Bro, I just call him the Con Man. I ain't pronouncing your last name. You the man, love you. But appreciate y'all hopping in. Appreciate the love in the chat. So
is Freddie a real Alabama fan?
Bro, Freddie's a Laker fan, an Alabama fan.
Cowboys fan?
No. He remember he was the Rams fan that moved to be a Giants fan.
Yeah. They won the Super Bowl last year, so that makes sense.
Yeah, so like Freddie is like grade A front runner. Like if he was a baseball fan, he's a Dodgers fan, I think. Yeah, he's a Dodgers fan. I know that. But
probably like he's the Astros now.
What? No. He's a Dodgers fan. But by all means, listen, go winners. That's what he doesn't go team, go Eagles. He goes go winners. But that's all right. It's all right. We love Freddie. Freddie's our guy. But any final comments on college football before we move on? Because I think that the Bowl Mania is going to be super fun. And I think that, if you guys can beat us, that'd be great. Win yourself some free merch. We'll send it out to you. But even if you don't beat us, we're still going to give you a hoodie to place number one amongst the listeners. Now, you're probably not going to beat us. We're better than you are. True. I'm just messing around. But any final comments for Bowl Mania?
No, man. I mean, we're getting close. We're getting closer and closer. I love Bowl Mania, though. I mean, you're gonna see some crazy plays. You're gonna see some trick plays. You're gonna see some upsets. You're gonna see some bad beats, I'm sure. Bowl month is a special time for football fans.
Is that my girl Audia in the chat? What's up, Audia?
I realized, like, I know obviously the college football playoff is New Year's Eve, but it just dawned on me like a couple days ago that I'm either going to go into the new year really happy or really sad, because that's probably going to be the last thing on my mind is the game, because it starts at 8, so chances are it ends at like 11:30, 11:15. So 2023
here's the good news.
Start off great or start off terrible.
Here's the good news for you, Kachal. Everything that bad happened, it all happened in 2022. It'll all be over for you. At 11:59 that night, you turn the audio, give her a kiss for New Year's Eve, go into 2023, and you start over fresh. It's the best way to look at it.
Y'all are too funny. I want to take a second to shout out. I know a great group of people. Penny Collins used to be a bank teller for me when I was a kid. When me and my dad would go into the bank, helped me set up my first checking account. I've remained in contact with her for it was like 20 years at this point. Her husband and a guy that Bill, guy to play softball with you.
Yeah, Julio texted me yesterday.
It started their own gunsmithing. It's Bubba's Gunsmithing is a new business. It's family, veteran owned and ran. They can be found on Facebook. Just search Bubba's Gunsmithing. But they're great people. So I just wanted to take a second and give them a shout before we go forward. Love them. Love the group. They just got obviously got a new phone from me. But we've been in contact for 20 years. Good people. So if you're looking for and Julio.
I will echo that. I can tell you, I've known Julio for a couple years now. Met him through softball. And there is no better example of a giving and kind person, and that is high praise. Great dude, like you said, veteran. Love the guy. Support him. If you have any kind of gunsmithing needs, anything like that, look them up. They do great work. You won't be disappointed, and they'll take care of you.
I just want to give them a shout. So search them on Facebook. Give them a follow, a like, share them, whatever you got to do. But appreciate y'all. Appreciate the people you guys are. Let's move on to NFL now. I'm ready for some NFL. How you feeling, Bill? I ain't gonna ask you, bro.
I mean, we'll get to it later. It's all right. I mean, listen, Hey, the only good news is I did horrible, but I only lost a ground of one game to both of you guys. So rebound this week, right back on it, and I got 5 weeks left to make up ground. See what happens.
Talking about picking, bro.
I'm talking about picking. What are you
talking
talking
about? How you feeling being 12-1? How's
I
the
love
Hurts
it.
Mania going?
Listen, the view from the top is fabulous. It's fabulous. If I tell if one more person tells me they're not number one in the power rankings, I'm gonna snap. I'm over it. Like I am over it.
Fine. There's Aaron in the comments. Hey, Aaron, thank you. No problem. Listen, the shout out is well deserved. Great people, great family. But listen, I don't mind us being 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Put us 14th in the power rankings.
I know why you say. I know why you say that, and I'm fine with it. I get all that, but at the same time, like the people, I don't think it's so much like that they're not getting the respect. It's the asinine arguments and reasoning people are coming out of the woodwork with that keep trying to justify that like Buffalo should be one or Kansas City should be one. Like you're just grasping at straws. Everybody's just all over the place. Just I'm over it.
I love the ESPN nerds that say Dallas is the best chance to win the Super Bowl. Go ahead. That's fine. I'm good with that. Listen, live and let live. I will tell you this. Did you hear Jalen Hurts' press conference?
I did.
I did not.
He had a comment that was so good. And he goes, "You've never arrived. It's all part of the journey. You've never arrived. It's all part of the journey." So, like, he ignores the fact, oh, have you arrived in the NFL? Like, do you feel like you've arrived? You've never arrived. It's all part of the journey. I love the fact that we go into every win, at the end of that win, looking at things that we can improve. We're not smelling ourselves. The leadership on this team is in great hands. The core, and I want to address the Michael Parsons stuff. That's kind of where I wanted to lead off. You guys heard the Micah Parsons, Von Miller comments. So Micah Parsons, and I get it, being a Cowboy, playing for the Cowboys, you can't admit that Jalen Hurts is just playing at an MVP caliber level. I understand the way you're going to go about this. He's human. He's beatable. That's the way I viewed it. I viewed it as him saying he's not that good. It's just the system and the scheme, and we got to figure out a way to beat the system and the scheme. And I'm sure that's what his coaches are telling him. I understand that, but he is that good. And Dan Orlovsky said a comment that should not be overlooked. He said, "I've never in my life seen a quarterback improve from year to year as much as Jalen Hurts improved." And it's not just the offense. It's not just the scheme. It's not just the line. It's not just the receivers. Jalen is making plays happen. Now, watching that Giants game, right? Like, Bill, I'm sure you watched the whole game. Control, I'm sure you watched almost none of it. And I understand that the Browns are playing the Bengals at the same time. But there was a touchdown pass that was thrown to Devontae Smith on a 4th and 6. That is pure luck. I'm just be clear with you. It was pure luck. If nobody doesn't understand that was pure luck, you didn't watch the right game. And we can look at that and say, okay, well, you got lucky here. The safety didn't knock the ball down. Okay, did we get lucky with the other 41 points that were scored? And that's the thing. Like this, where is the weakness on the team? Where is the spot on the team? It was the run defense, right? The run defense was the issue. Well, now you get Jordan Davis back. You add Ndamukong Suh. You add Linval Joseph, Fletcher Cox, and now Javon Hargrave are a lot more rested, and the rotational pieces are working at a very good level. Well, guess what? You have no more problem there. Okay, it's the edge rushers. Hassan Reddick's got 10 sacks. The Eagles lead the NFL in sacks. It's not there. Is it the linebacking crew? TJ Edwards led the team in sacks all games this year except 2. Where's Slay and Bradbury, the best cornerback combo in the league right now, as far as defense, a quarterback rating throwing against Slay and Bradbury. Now, I could say there's some issues as safety until CJ Gardner Johnson comes back. But at the end of the day, where is the weakness on this football team? Cottrell, from an outsider, tell me what I'm missing.
I mean, it's tough to say that there's like a glaring weakness when your team has won, 12 out of 13 of their games. And they won their loss was a divisional game that I think for the majority of the game, they played better than the other team. It's just that when they made their mistakes, it was just bad. I feel like in a sense, you really don't have like a glaring weakness. It'll kind of just be, this team got a chance to see what was going on last year in the playoffs that they got that playoff experience. Those young guys got the playoff experience. I guess it'll just be seeing what Sirianni does in his second year coaching and how those guys respond to being. I mean, you guys are going to have a first round bye, as long as you don't collapse down the stretch here. So I think it'll be how those guys react to that situation. And, coming off that bye, I would expect you guys to be fully rested, but obviously playoff football, anything can happen. So I think the biggest thing right now is, honing in on what you're good at. Everybody seems like they're doing a great job at what they're doing. It'll just be overcoming the lack of experience in the playoffs. Like, of course, you got some old guys like Fletcher Cox has been there, Kelsey, Lane, those guys. But, Devontae, this will be his second year there. AJ, yes, he's been there before, but he hasn't been with his team. Jalen, yeah, he was there last year, but he didn't perform great. So just overcoming that lack of experience, I think, is going to be the big thing. But if you play like you did in the regular season, I mean, I told you guys during the text messages, I saw Jalen Hurts touchdown pass to AJ Brown, and that sealed it for me. Eagles are playing like the best team in football. So that's really it for me.
Bill, before you kind of add in, because I would love to hear your opinion of where you think the Eagles can improve. I want to comment on what you said about playoff experience. And listen, I don't disagree with that, right? A lot of them don't have a lot of playoff experience. But I think with the Philadelphia Eagles, it's a little bit different because you're not relying on a quarterback only to do it for you. When you rely on the trenches, the offensive and defensive line, they're units. They're not like one specific person. So like if someone's having a bad day, you have 4 others or 3 others that are there to pick you up in that situation. Like if the moment's too big for Landon Dickerson, you got Jordan Mailata, who's an absolute monster right next to him. If the moment's too big for, like, let's just say Lane Johnson, who is not allowed to sack and set the NFL record, by the way, in like 60 straight games. It's absurd. But if the moment's too big for one of them, you got to understand it. It might not be big. It might not be big for the other 4 on that unit. So I don't really think Jalen Hurts needs to be an A+ quarterback for this team to win the Super Bowl. I don't. I think that they can rely on the run game. They can rely on the scheme. They can rely on their offensive line to give him time. He just can't be a C- quarterback.
I wasn't even saying like Jalen specifically, but I guess I think about when I say that, I think about like a guy like James Bradbury, Kevin King, and I'm not saying James Bradbury is the same level as a Kevin King, but like Kevin King played such a horrible game in that NFC Championship game. If you have that kind of performance from it doesn't even have to be at corner, but from one of those like key skill position points, and you're going up against a team that's on their A game, I just think that might be where the tipping point might be.
Bro, that game from Kevin King was one of the worst I've ever seen a cornerback ever play. Like,
Absolutely.
I just don't even, like, I watched
and
that game.
He played good football all season. Playing solid football all season.
The Scotty Miller play was the one that just I still roll my eyes on. Like, any level of football, you can't let that happen. There's not high school, flag, like, no, that can't happen.
And I guess the other thing too, you guys get on Sirianni and that staff about this at times too, but just kind of starting to overthink things. Once games get tight, especially in the playoffs, obviously you guys' offensive line has been phenomenal. Jalen Hurts has been throwing the ball well, but I mean, I think it would be as good as AJ Brown has been. I think your identity should be, running the football, and getting too one-dimensional either way. I mean, you don't want your coach to get tight there. And Sirianni's lack of playoff experience, that's just something I would have in the back of my mind as well.
I feel that. Bill, what's your thoughts? And then we'll move on. It's not an Eagles show. This is a all NFL show, but we are talking about the best team in football right now.
I mean, Cottrell brought up the first point I was going to say. I think they need to continue to do what they do, stay within themselves, and continue. I know, for lack of a better term, trust the process, trust their play calling. Like Cottrell said, your bread and butter is running the ball. Miles Sanders is having a great year. That offensive line is finally healthy and together as a unit. Run the ball. Everything you do on the ground, that's a success. All it does is help Jalen Hurts, have more time, have that extra second to look for a receiver, run the ball if he wants to. All it does is set up Jalen Hurts to be more successful on a play-to-play basis. I said this to you the other day, and I mean this. I think everybody is scared to death that Jalen Hurts is going to have this great regular season, and then we're getting the playoffs. He's going to the Tampa Bay game again. And I truly don't believe that's going to happen. I think this is a different team, and at some point, people just need to realize he's a better quarterback than he was 10 months ago when they played that game. Could he go to the playoffs and see
gold than we lived in just 14 minutes ago?
Correct. And it's a good line. Draft day. But people, I think people are afraid he's going to show up to the playoff game. He's going to start seeing ghosts again. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think this offense is completely different. I think they finally learned to, really, kind of trust Miles Sanders, trust that offensive line. And they're spreading the ball around and they're just consistent, but Cottrell brought up a good point. I can't remember what game it was, but it was like, whatever the game was, they ran the ball the first 2 downs and then threw the ball like 16 straight times after that. And it was a game that went down to the wire that it shouldn't have. That being too cute, that type of stuff is what'll get us in trouble. That being said, though,
on that offensive line.
No, I agree.
On that offensive line.
Playoff football is different. It's no different than any other sport. Like, you see it all the time, like in hockey, even baseball and even basketball. Everything tightens up. You're going to get the absolute best effort you're going to get from everybody on the other side of the ball for 60 minutes. We're most likely not going to blow teams out. They're going to be closer games, but we just got to do what we got to do. We have to stay within ourselves, stay within our system. And because at the end of the day, I just think we have a better team than everybody.
Dylan's had some great comments. I wanted to highlight this one. Hurts doesn't seem to make the same mistakes twice. He will play a lot better, especially with what he has now with weapons, experience, and chemistry. To add to that, last year at New York, he threw 3 interceptions and a loss. This year, he has 3 interceptions the entire year. That's a huge difference, guys. Huge.
If there's one thing I've heard from just having other conversations with random Eagle fans and friends and everything, and the more you think about it, in my opinion, it is a valid point. Eagles are great front runners. They're great front runners, and they've done really well for the most part this year of starting every game fast. People are concerned if we're down 10 in the third quarter. Is that where you see him start to press or start to do things that could get us in trouble? Again, I still don't think he's going to, but I think it's a valid argument. It's a valid thought. That could be something that would scare me. Down 10 late in the third quarter of a playoff game, does he maybe make a pass that he hasn't tried to fit in all year? Stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's valid. But again, I mean, with the defense, not in the NFC anyway. I mean, not with San Fran not being full strength. Brock Purdy looks like, the second coming of Tom Brady right now.
God,
but
I don't want to hear that right
now. I know. I'm just saying it's not going to last. But my whole point is,
no, it's not.
I would be shocked if we're down 10 late in the third quarter anybody in the NFC. I just think we're better than everybody.
Yeah. So good evening, Jeremy. What's up, Kyle Edwards? But I kind of want to, and one last comment on the Eagles, and I'm done. And I just want to say it out loud. Jordan Mailata already responded to Michael Parsons. And it was a very good response. He goes, Michael Parsons, just worry about Dallas. Just worry about your team. Don't worry about us.
How about you worry about how your quarterback's going to play in a big game, bud?
But I also love that he said that because he'll be lined up against Michael Parsons. So the motivation with Mailata and Lane Johnson will be extra for that football game, which I'm looking forward to. But we got a lot of other teams, a lot of other things to cover. And actually one of them, Jeremy, welcome to join, just joined us in the chat. the Detroit Lions. Can the Detroit Lions still make the playoffs? And I say this because I don't think you realize how close they are to making it. I don't even think Jeremy said they need to run the table. They don't need to run the table. They need to go 9-8. They'll make the playoffs.
Seattle is falling apart by the second.
So I was looking at the playoff bracket before the show, and I want to read you what the NFC
Commanders.
looks like. Correct. The teams that are ahead of them are the Commanders, the Giants, and Seattle for that 6 and 7 seed. There's two teams that have the 6 and 7 seed, so they need to pass 2 of those 3. Green Bay's not going to catch them. Nobody from behind's catching them.
No.
The Giants might not win a football game the rest of the year.
Facts.
They're going to play the Commanders this week on Sunday Night Football. I like the Commanders a lot in that game. Seattle's falling apart at the seams, and now they get San Fran on a short week. And that San Fran defense is legit, bro. Detroit's playing great football. This week's huge. They got to go play at the New York Jets, and both those teams are very fringe, borderline playoff games. But the Detroit Lions have been absolutely on fire, clicking on all cylinders. Dan Campbell's got those guys buying in. What are your thoughts on the Lions? I got to bring them up, man. They're too hot for me not to talk about them.
They're fun.
They won 4 of their last 5. We talked about it a little bit. Jared Goff is playing better football now and he said it too, better football now than he has in his entire career. And this is a guy who was on the Rams and went to the Super Bowl. So I think, getting that kind of production out of Jared Goff right now is huge. DeAndre Swift hasn't, we were thinking that he was going to be the X factor of that offense, and he hasn't even had the opportunity to be that guy, getting in and out of the lineup with injuries and things like that. And Jamal Williams has, carried the RB load for him. Now they get Jameson Williams back from injury. He caught a touchdown last week. Obviously, Amon-Ra St.
yards.
Yep, Amon-Ra St. Brown on the other side. We know what he can do.
Chark
and Chark, they got it rolling. And Dan Campbell's got those guys to buy in.
They got a loaded run game.
Panay caught a pass last week. Like they're just having fun. They're having fun out there.
Did you hear Dan Campbell's explanation about that play call?
I did not.
Oh, my God. It's one of the funniest things you'll ever hear in your life. Dan Campbell was on, I think it was the Pat McAfee show, and he was talking to Pat, and he said, that was a really gutsy play call. He goes, I didn't call that. The offense coordinator called that, and I was hyping up the crowd, trying to calm he was, celebrating with the crowd. And he said, yeah, call. That's fine. Didn't hear the play because the crowd noise. And then Penei Sewell going on. He's like, what the hell's going on? And when Penei caught the ball, he was going nuts. He had no idea that play was called for Penei Sewell when it was happening. I thought that was hilarious. Just wanted to share that. But
I mean, that's how you get guys to buy in, though. Your cornerstone tackle, you got him going out on a route, picking up a first down. When you give those guys that kind of love, they're going to do whatever they can for you. They're going to fight like hell to have your back, and that's what he's done. Like I said, 4 of the last 5 games, it's funny because we brought up at the midway point, we brought up coaches that might be fired, and Dan Campbell was one of the names that came up, and we were like, yeah, it's unfortunate, but, it seems like that's how it's going to go. And we liked him, from Hard Knocks and everything. And then he's like, you know what? Screw it. We got nothing else to lose. We're going to leave it all out there every single week. And that's what they've done.
He is a prime example of ownership. If you say you're going to give somebody 3 or 4 years to build a team, you have to give them 3 or 4 years. The NFL is so, relying upon, immediate success and turning a team around in a year. He really went in there and pretty much scrapped that team down to the bare bones and rebuilt it with his type of guys. And that, you saw it on Hard Knocks. It's that is a team that has a very strong culture. You've a couple guys we've mentioned Jared Goff. That was kind of like a throwaway and, a misfit toy. And, he's gone there, and Dan Campbell's, looked him in the face, said, you're my guy. You got to win football games, got to play smart, but you're my guy. There's no Sean McVay bullshit here. You're my dude. However you play is going to dictate how this team goes. And he's brought in guys, we saw it as well with the coaches, Aaron Glenn, Deuce Staley, guys that are intense human beings that love the game of football. And that has absolutely been contagious within that team. Now they've gone out and drafted. They've had a couple really good drafts in a row. Cottrell mentioned DeAndre Swift. He's their best player. He hasn't even played half the year because he's been hurt. And they're, now all of a sudden, like you said, you get Jamison Williams back now. Like, what is he going to look like in another 3 weeks? And you go back to the Eagles. Like we talked about 12-1. They gave us everything we wanted week 1. Everything. Yeah. I'd argue they played us tougher than pretty much everybody else on our schedule.
That's facts.
That is a team.
I want to read out their schedule real quick for you, because I think it's interesting. I think this week is so important because after this week, they play at the Jets this week, and it's a pick'em line.
It's a tough game.
Like that's it. By the way, I feel like this is almost like their playoff game. But their schedule down the stretch is at Carolina,
win,
at home versus Chicago. I don't think Justin Fields is going. I think they're shutting him down soon.
As they should.
And then the Packers, who basically quitting. Am I lying?
No, I love to see it. I do. Listen, anytime the Packers do bad,
it's possible to 4-0. That's easy 3-1.
Yeah, they're tough. Their toughest game is this week. And then you go back and look at their other schedule. They have 2 or 3 games that they lost, at the buzzer within the last minute. I mean, if they won all 3 of those games, you're talking, they're a game behind Minnesota for the division lead. I promise you this: like, if you're the 2 or 3 seed, that is not the team you want coming to town to open the playoffs against right now. That is not the team you want to see. That is not the team you want to see.
Especially if you're like the Vikings, like you got to see your division foe the 3rd time. Like, and it's, you play in Minneapolis, but it'll be in a dome. Exactly. Yep. Like, there's nothing that'll be on your side in that kind of matchup. I'll say too, the one thing though about this week, I mean, Mike White has got like 2 ribs left at this point after that Buffalo game.
Bro.
Obviously, the Jets running back situation is just so up in the air. Quinnen Williams got hurt last week. Like, I think this is a game that the Lions can definitely go into New York and win. I mean, I think the odds say that too. Like you said, it's a pick 'em. Last I looked, they were, 1-point favorites on the road. Like, that's usually, you have to be a good team when you're going up against a team right now that's sitting in the playoffs to go on the road and still be favorites in that game, whether it's, pick 'em or what. So I think this is a very winnable game for them.
I look at the AFC playoff picture as a whole, and it's loaded, right? So, like, in the playoffs, right, I can't believe New England's in the playoffs. I really think that they're the big fraud out of the teams that are in the playoffs. Them in Tennessee. But somebody's got to win that division. Yep. But you got Miami, who's been fought on literally a downward spiral. Where they lose 2 straight. They're about to lose 3 straight playing at Buffalo this week. They're going to get killed up there. I hope it's
7.5. I think 7.5.
They're going to get killed. Guys, listen to me. They're going to get beat by 100. Like, they're going to get killed this week. It's not going to be a good look. Patriots do have a legit defense, Kyle, but I don't know. We're going to talk about them in a minute because their schedule is really rough down the stretch. But you got the Dolphins, who are literally on a nosedive at 8-5. They'll be 8-6 after this week. You got the Patriots, who are 7-6. The Chargers, who are 7-6, who are just out of the playoffs by tiebreaker. The Jets, who are 7-6, who are just out of the playoffs. So you got 3 teams at 7-6. New England holds the tiebreaker over the other 2, and then the Dolphins at 8-5. The Titans look worse than all of them. But just to be clear, what 2 teams make it out of those 4? Miami, New England, LA Chargers, and the New York Jets. What 2 teams make it out of those 4? Because the Jaguars don't make it. They're 5-8. They're outside 7-6 teams. You ain't got no shot.
They're too far back.
Correct.
I think the Chargers make it just simply because I think they're healthy now, and I think they get Chance Darwin plays this week, if not next week. They finally got Mike Williams and Keenan both on the field at the same time. Eckler's still doing his thing. I think they have too much. I think they'll get in. I know they're definitely going to have Denver and probably the Raiders left on that schedule somewhere as well. So I mean, that's 2 games they should win. That'll put them right around that 9 or 10 win threshold. So I think that gets them in. I still think Miami backs in somehow. I know they got to play Buffalo this week. I'm assuming they probably still have.
They got New England, Buffalo. And
probably got the Jets left too.
Yeah, they do. So I'm looking at Miami's schedule. I mean, New England's schedule. New England plays at the Raiders this week, and then they go through the gauntlet. They play the Bengals, the Dolphins, and at Buffalo. Like that's now you might get lucky because Buffalo might be situated where they're at by that last game because Miami's collapsed. And if they can't get the 1 seed or they already have the 1 seed locked up by that last game, you never know who plays. But
they would need Kansas City to lose, though.
Correct.
So
Buffalo might be locked in the 2 seed, so it might not matter. They might sit everybody, give them the bye. But New England's in a weird spot.
I mean, you got to figure to have any kind of shot, you got to win 2 of them.
I think the Chargers and the Dolphins make it out of those 2.
Agreed. I got the Chargers and the Chargers and the Dolphins. I think the seeding could get crazy though. You said the Bengals play the Patriots. Who else do the Bengals have remaining? And they got a tough game this week.
At Tampa.
Yep, at Tampa.
I'll pull up theirs right now. I just pulled
up
Miami.
You said they got the Patriots too. I think the Bengals will make it just because they have that extra game right now. But I remember looking at the Bengals and they got the Ravens to end the year. So that'll be.
The Bengals will make it.
No. I know they'll make it, but I'm saying I think the Bengals might end up at like the 6th or 7th seed.
He's saying
they have that extra game.
5, that's all. Yeah.
Yes. I think that'll be a.
I mean, I think the Tampa Bay game. The Tampa Bay game is very winnable. I mean, if you looked at that game 2 months ago, you'd probably say, that's a hell of a game to have. But the way Tampa Bay's playing right now,
they play at Tampa, at New England, at home versus Buffalo, and then they play the Ravens at home. That's the Bengals last 4.
I mean, they won't go 0-4, but I mean,
they can.
That's a hell of a run. They won't, but
bro, the Baltimore Ravens season is just like they play football games. They got no 4th quarter of it.
Well, I mean, Lamar's not playing right now, but I mean, it's a divisional game, and they always go. They always go back and forth. Can't count on anything. Divisional game in January. Where is it? Where is that one at? In Cincinnati?
No, yeah, it's in Cincinnati.
Yeah, so who knows what the weather's like and all types of crazy stuff. I think
Cincinnati runs through. I think they actually lose this week to the Bucs. I think they run through New England next week at New England. I don't think that game's close. I think that turns out to be a rout. And I think the game that they have with versus the Buffalo Bills in Cincinnati determines whether they're the 2 or the 4. They're going to win that division, so I'm not worried about that. They're not going to go down to the 6 or 7. That division's won, in my opinion.
I don't think the only reason why I disagree.
Baltimore's still ahead of them, aren't they?
No.
The only reason why I think that this will be interesting is because of the injuries that
they are because of the tiebreaker. You're right. They are because of the tiebreaker they played.
I thought so.
You got T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd out, and I saw that Boyd might miss a couple weeks. So depending on if they can play against the Patriots, you can't get away with just Jamar Chase going up against Bill Belichick. Yes, the Bengals can stop the Patriots. There's no doubt about that, but Bill's going to scheme it up where he's going to make those other guys beat you. So I think the Bengals are getting injured at the worst part of the season. Like the best part about the Bengals is the higher powered offense. But if 2 or your 3 horses can't go and Mixon's been in and out of the lineup with injury, I think this is a tough stretch for him.
The Ravens they play at Cleveland, the Falcons, the Steelers, and then at Cincinnati.
Yeah. So the Ravens could win out. They could be. I mean, they're 2-2 at absolute worst.
Yeah.
Okay. We got one more thing I want to talk about with the NFL circuit, and then we're gonna get into pick 'em. We're way ahead. We're kicking butt time, and the only last thing I want to talk about. What'd you say?
Said you want to talk about Brock Purdy?
Yeah,
Rookie of the year votes?
Purdy.
Can we knock that off? All right, so I really wanted to get into that thing.
Brock Purdy gonna win a Super Bowl. Hang off the Trey Lance.
Guys, we know what Brock Purdy is. Kyle Shanahan is one of the best offensive minds in all football. He schemed a great game plan. Tom Brady and that Bucs offense looked atrocious. That 49ers defense gave them great field after great field, and Purdy made some good throws. I'm not going to hate on the kid and act like he's a complete tomato can back there, but he's never going to win the football by himself, right? Like, he's not that good. So this week they play at Seattle, and I think that's kind of a gift too. I think San Francisco's defense as a whole could hold Seattle to 10 or 15 points, 10 to 13 points this week. So I don't necessarily think Brett, come on, man. Brock Purdy's the GOAT conqueror. Come on, man. It's totally different teams. If you switch the quarterbacks out, San Francisco's the clear on odds to win the Super Bowl. And Brock Purdy's 0-16 on Tampa Bay. Like, I'm not like trying to be a smart ass, but
I don't know about all that, but
why?
0-16
any quarterback in the NFL you would take Brock Purdy over? Any starting quarterback in the NFL?
No, I didn't. I mean, I'm not saying that, but I don't think he goes 0-16 on the Bucs, though.
Is there any quarterback in the NFL you would take Brock Purdy over? Baker, anybody? Don't lie. I know you hate him. That's why I brought him up.
I probably would still take Baker, but look, he played. Look, I'm not gonna hate. I'm not gonna hate on him. I saw the game. He played great, and
but you still played Iowa State. He's Mr. Irrelevant for a reason. Like,
absolutely,
he's not,
but that doesn't mean. I'm not gonna take this time to hate on the kid. Look, I thought highly of Brock Purdy. I had Iowa State going to the playoff because I thought so highly of Brock Purdy, and he let me down. So he still got some hate left in my heart, but he looked really good Sunday, and I think that the Bucs gave him great field position. Yes, Kyle Shanahan and that offense, they put him in the perfect position, but he was also making some throws. I mean, the touchdown pass that he threw to Christian McCaffrey was blanketed, put the ball on the rope, and got it there. So he had to scramble where he scored the touchdown, the rushing touchdown. Like, he was just making smart plays, and I think that's kind of what I was getting at last week when we were talking about it with Kyle Shanahan. He said all camp that he liked Brock Purdy as that third string quarterback with them. So I think they have this chemistry or whatever. So I mean, we'll see what happens.
Tiny,
I love Tiny. Tiny absolutely keeps the feelings alive of hating Baker. I love it. She won't let it die.
All right, so
Kyle Edwards might have the winner though.
Nope, Davis Mills. I don't like Davis Mills.
Davis Mills stinks, dude.
Davis Mills lost his job to Jeff Driscoll.
Thank you. And Jeff Driscoll's a bum.
Former 5-star.
Yeah.
You can't tell me you put Brock Purdy on Houston that they're any worse than they are now.
I don't disagree with that. I would still take Davis Mills over Brock Purdy.
Ugh.
All right, so I want to talk about one more thing. I'm sorry I lied.
Liar.
Just because I'm a little bit of a showboat. I'm a little bit flashy. I like rubbing it in when I'm right. I told you guys that a coach changes a lot for a quarterback. I told you guys, and it's not for you two specifically. You guys are reasonable, level-headed people. But I told you,
where are we going?
That a coach changes the landscape for a quarterback. I said this, right? Did I not say this? Urban Meyer was trash. That team was tragic last year. Anybody want to talk about Trevor Lawrence throwing up 385 yards, 3 touchdowns with a perfect quarterback rating last week? Want to talk about that?
And he threw it.
I don't think Trevor. I mean, I've been with you the whole time about Trevor, and I don't think Charles ever trashed Trevor. So, I mean,
no, I'm not. I'm talking to listeners. I'm talking to listeners. Listeners.
I know. I mean, I know who you're really talking about, but
I'm talking to listeners, Bill. I'm talking to them listeners. At the end of the day, I will sit here and say Doug Peterson was a great hire for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Very quarterback-friendly coach. The culture is changing. They're 5-8 this year. They're going to get better and better and better. This week's not a good week for him. So I don't want to hear you hating when he goes against the number 1 pass rush in the NFL right now. Dallas Cowboys have a pass rush out of this world. DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons. Now, if he goes out there and beats the Dallas Cowboys this week, I need like full-on apologies. Because
who you talking about?
Just anybody out there that, listen, I looked at a lot of quarterback ratings before the year started, and there was all these quarterback lists going around, right? It was like not just one. It was like 7, 8, 9, 10. We're talking about Trevor Lawrence or Davis Mills. Trevor Lawrence or Daniel Jones.
Trevor Lawrence or Brock Purdy.
Trevor Lawrence or who? Trevor Lawrence is a top 10 quarterback prospect in the NFL. And when I say prospect, I mean if I was redrafting the NFL quarterbacks and starting from scratch, I would take Trevor Lawrence in my top 10.
I mean, I feel that.
What?
I feel that for sure. I said I feel that for sure.
Yeah,
but
I'm
I mean,
just
as
You
much as
eliminate the Brady's, you eliminate the Rodgers, you eliminate the older quarterbacks.
Russell Wilson.
Yo, Jesus! Don't talk about Russell Wilson, bro.
So you're going Mahomes, Allen, Burrow,
Lamar.
Are you taking Lamar over him?
No, I'm just saying. No. I wasn't.
I ain't taking Lamar over him.
I wasn't going in order. I'm just.
He's going to be in your top 10, though.
Top 10. That's what I was doing.
Maybe.
I wasn't going. Lamar's top 10 quarterback.
Maybe we'll see. I didn't really map it out.
I'm probably more critical of him than anybody, and it's just hard to just deny certain things he does.
I mean, it's crazy. You give every other quarterback gets this excuse, and Lamar hasn't had a true number one since he's been in the league. And
that's a myth. It's a myth. Took 7 players in the first 3 rounds of skill position players the last 3 years. So being a first round pick means you're a true number one. All right, got it. Do you think a quarterback has anything?
Whoa! We can't be saying that stuff with all the heat I talk about Aaron Rodgers and his weapons.
I agree with you, Bill.
Don't be saying that stuff, Cottrell.
Exactly.
No.
It's
nice to try and get those. It's nice to get those talents, like to try to get those talents in the first round. But being the 6th receiver off the board and things like that doesn't always mean you hit. Just because you get drafted in the first round doesn't mean you're a hit.
I'm not saying they won't hit, but Hollywood Brown looks fine over in Arizona.
Does he? Does he look fine? Does he look like a number one receiver over there?
He was number 6 wide receiver in the NFL before he got hurt.
What? 4 weeks into the season? Fantastic.
No, yeah. Okay. 4 weeks into the season.
Exactly. For 4 weeks, he looked great.
He had 10 receptions. The second game after he got back.
Fantastic. So he looks like a true number one over there, is what you're telling me.
No, I'm just saying.
Does he look like a true number one? Answer the question.
He's not going to look like a true number one because he's not number one there. He came back and DeAndre Hopkins was there.
Correct.
Okay, so if Hollywood Brown is the best receiver, if Hollywood Brown is the best receiver that Lamar's ever thrown to, and he's not a true number one,
Hollywood could be a number one. Bro, that's like saying like if you took like
he's not a receiver, he's a tight end.
He's a receiver. Does he catch the ball? It's receiving.
No. He gets paid tight end money. Can you start? Wait, can you start Mark Andrews at receiver in fantasy football?
No.
Okay.
He's starting the flex though.
You can't start him at receiver.
Look, they drafted Rashad Bateman in the first round. They drafted Hollywood Brown in the first round. They drafted J.K. Dobbins in the second round. They drafted Mark Andrews. I'm not saying they're not trying to get him players. I'm not saying that they're not trying to.
With all of them
they haven't hit
on the field.
That's also true.
But
Bateman's always hurt. I mean, I love J.K. Dobbins.
Hollywood Brown asked out of Baltimore, and I'm telling you, the reason he asked out of Baltimore is because he wanted a better quarterback to throw him the ball. It's the truth. Lamar Jackson
was putting balls on the money. You saw the Detroit Lions game. You saw the Lions game.
Yes, I agree with you. But if you think Lamar Jackson's a top 20 thrower of the football in the NFL, you're sadly mistaken. He's not.
Okay.
He's not.
Okay.
You think dude, take his legs off. Just thrower of the football. I think Lamar Jackson for one season and one season only is 100% a top 10 quarterback. For 2 seasons and 2 seasons only is 100% a top 10 quarterback. I think his athleticism, his leadership, and his arm talent are good enough to be a top 10 quarterback in the league. If I'm starting a franchise, there's not a snowball's chance in hell I'm taking him over Trevor Lawrence, who can throw the football. Way better.
Well, I didn't say. Did you say you would take Lamar over him?
I was just in that category top 10.
That's all. I was just naming people that I thought were like consensus top 10. I wasn't saying Lamar would be my 5th.
I don't know if he's consensus though. Is he consensus?
But see, that's because you got love for guys. You got love for guys like Kyler who've shown you what they are.
I do not have love for Kyler. You're not going to give me credit for being critical Kyler for last year and a half.
All right, Patrick Mahomes agreed.
Yes.
Josh
100%.
Allen,
Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Burrow. They're easy ones.
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, of course, Jalen Hurts. Over Trevor and over Lamar.
Just top 10. Just top 10.
It's 5
Doesn't
right
have
there.
to be
Easy.
over anybody.
That's easy.
5. And we're saying we're starting over, so Brady and Rodgers are out.
Correct. You're not restarting the NFL with them.
Okay. Wilson's too old.
Correct.
Yeah.
Go by divisions. We got time. We got 5 minutes. Go by divisions.
So,
AFC West.
So,
you take them over Carr going forward. I take Lawrence.
Start in the NFC. So Hurts we already named. You're taking him over. This is for Lamar.
Taking him over Dak.
Taking him over Dak. You're taking him over Daniel Jones. You're taking him over Heineke, Wentz, who's 100%. Ever there. Rodgers, we already said. I know you're taking over Kirk Cousins.
The whole division except Justin Fields. Justin Fields is 2. I'll take Lawrence over Fields.
Okay.
Right behind him.
Fields is good, so that's 6. In the West, so you're going to go Trey Lance?
No, I'll take Lawrence and Fields.
Same thing for Stafford at this point.
I'll take Lawrence and Fields.
Same thing for Kyler.
I'll take Lawrence and Fields.
And same thing for Geno.
100% take Lawrence or Fields.
And then the South is a mess. Brady's out. He's too old.
The whole division's trash. Throw it away.
So go East. You already got
in the top 10.
Who?
I'll take 2 in the top 10.
So
I hate
Tua was more,
but I will.
Tua was more bona fide than Lamar. That's insane to me.
Going forward, yes.
Oh, man.
Okay.
I can't. Oh, God. That's.
I mean, we just have very much differences of opinions then.
All right. So if this theoretical draft, you have the 10th pick, and he gets to the 10th, and Fields is gone, all those guys are gone. The top 2 from your projections are Lamar and 2 on the board. You're taking Tua?
Probably not. I probably. Listen. It felt weird coming out. Like I think Lamar's better than Tua by a long shot, but for 5, 6, 7 years sustainability, I think Tua's got a chance to be better. Now, I don't want a quarterback.
Tua's one hit away from being a
vegetable. You don't think Tua's going to be more sustainable? He's more accurate thrower to football.
More accurate
than Lamar?
If you give Lamar Jackson, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle, I think he'll be perfectly fine.
If you put Lamar, on Miami's team, which team's more successful?
Never made a receiver better. Period. I think
Tua has, right?
Jalen Waddle?
That's the only quarterback he knows.
Waddle's the tough argument there because he hasn't played with anybody else. Tyreek Hill's still doing Tyreek Hill things.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you flip-flop those two, Baltimore's worse without Lamar Jackson. If Tua is there.
If Tua was in Baltimore,
this isn't a Lamar thing. I think Trevor Lawrence is the 7th best quarterback prospect in the NFL.
If Tua was in Baltimore,
I'm with you on Trevor.
If Tua was in Baltimore, they wouldn't have made the playoffs the last 4 years, and he wouldn't have an MVP award.
Correct. I agree with that. But we're not talking about this.
I think Miami's better if Lamar Jackson's their quarterback.
No.
If Lamar Jackson is their quarterback right now, they're like top 5 Super Bowl odds right now.
They're top 5 Super Bowl odds without him.
Nobody believes
right
in
now.
Tua, dude.
I don't know.
I don't believe in Tua, but I got to give him some credit. The guy's been accurate this year.
But listen. I think he's played better than. I mean, listen. I've been in that hate boat with you, in that bus boat with you from the get-go with him, and I think I'll freely admit on the show that he's been better than I thought he was going to be.
Absolutely,
he's still not great though. He's still not great, and I still don't trust him.
I don't think Lamar has a long career, and if you notice the last 2 years, he's been injured near the end of the year a lot, and I think that his career he's going to slow down, bro. He relies on his legs more than any other quarterback in the NFL. And it doesn't mean that it's not sustainable for 5, 6 years, but it's not sustainable for a 10, 15-year career. He's not going to be doing that at 38. He's not picking defenses apart, throwing the football. So if I'm being honest with you, what?
I agree with that, but at the same time, though, I don't think Tua's picking apart defenses now at 25, so I'm not going to expect him to pick apart defenses at 35 either, though.
Do you think the progression from Tua from 22 to 25 hasn't been impressive to you?
Oh, it's definitely been impressive, but it hasn't been more impressive than guys who are like studs these first round picks. I think I've seen the progression with Josh Allen from his rookie year to where he is now. I've seen the progression from Jalen Hurts from his rookie year to where he is now. I've seen the progression from Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence from year 1 to year 2. Yeah, and I think all those guys have progressed more than what Tua has. And he's got the offensive mind. He's got the great offensive line. He's got the Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Yes, he's playing a lot better this year, but I still haven't seen anything from Tua that's like, this guy can be a top 10 quarterback. This guy could be a top 5 quarterback.
I agree with that.
That's all.
But the funny thing is, if you really look at the NFL and you eliminate the older players, I'm talking about franchise quarterbacks for the next 5 to 7 years, there really is only 9 or 10 in the whole league. Yeah. We want to pretend and make these guys. The question would be, if he slows down and can't rely on his legs, what does Lamar look like staying in the pocket? 100%. Yo, Kyle Edwards is literally my spirit, bro. Every time I say something, he like words it better for me. Thank you, Kyle. I need you to come around me to like work and like different areas of life. That's exactly what I mean. Exactly what I mean.
But so, I mean, I guess
5 to 7 years, would you rather have Lamar than Tua?
I personally would, yes. Because I think within those first, for me, it is. I think within those first 3 years, I think I can be a legit contender, and I think Lamar can have, if he stays healthy, I think he could be like in those MVP conversations. And I would take my highs with Lamar, and even if the back end, the 2 to 3 years on the back end, he falls off a lot, I'm good with that because I think we have a championship window. I don't know if I can win a Super Bowl with Tua being my quarterback, especially in the league now. You see it pretty much every year. You need one of those guys that are going to go win you a Super Bowl. I don't want you to just get me there. I want you to go win me a Super Bowl. You know, Pat's done it. Obviously,
we're an average quarterback on a Super Bowl.
That's true. I don't want to call Matt average though, because he had a top 10 year last year.
Led the league in picks.
I understand, but for a while though, he was in the MVP discussion.
Yeah, all his numbers were good too. Besides picks, he threw a lot of picks, but made a lot of plays too. Like I'll piggyback on what Kachal just said. I think Tua is good enough to get there, but like for them to win it, he's not going to go out and dominate the game like a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen. If they win the Super Bowl, it's because Tyreek Hill took 2 to the house, or Jalen Waddle took 2 to the house off like a screen pass, and they got great blocking and they made great runs. That's not Tua. Tua gets credit for all those yards, but that's not that would be the reason they would win, not because Tua is throwing 40-yard out passes into 2-foot windows. Like that's not what you're getting from him.
I agree with that. I think Baltimore is a bottom 10 team in the league right now, the way they're playing though. Without wide receivers, Lamar hurt, I just think that they're horrific. And I think they'd go get their ass beat this week at Cleveland. And talk about another quarterback. Would you take that's a fun question, and then we'll end it. We'll end NFL on this one because Cottrell's a Browns fan. I know where Cottrell's going to go. He has to go on this side. But who would you take? Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson, Tua? Like out of those 5, who were the ones that you like? I don't want to say rank them, but I don't know. Where do you have Deshaun Watson on that list?
It's 4th for me.
Out of those 5?
Yep.
Jesus.
This is a little low. I think that's low.
I would only consider taking Trevor Lawrence over him.
I would take Fields.
I think Lawrence and Fields are givens, and they're not.
I have them 3. I have them 3 ahead of Lamar and Tua. So if I had to do it,
I would take him over. I would take him over Lamar. I would take him over Tua. And then
take him over Fields?
I would, yeah.
I wouldn't. Fields, Lamar, Trevor, Deshaun, Tua.
My thing is that Deshaun is still young. I think it'd be different if he was like a little bit older.
Wait,
and I think
Lamar over Trevor as far as like what you would take going forward. Nikki D, I don't know, bro.
I don't know about that one. But Deshaun gets the opportunity to knock the rust off of him, and Browns aren't going to make the playoffs. So he gets to really play free as can be the last 4 games of this season here, and he gets to go into the offseason knowing that he's the starter, getting acquainted with the offense, all that stuff. So I think next year it'll be a great time to really gauge where Deshaun is.
I think
you can't really word it like that.
What do you mean?
I think Deshaun Watson will be real quick. I think he'll be a mixture of what he was before and what he is now. I think he'll be somewhere in between. I don't think he'll ever be where he was his last year or so in Houston. Ever.
What do you mean, Bill? Why can't I?
You were like knowing he's going to be the starter. He knew he was the starter this year. Like he did not play this year because of football reasons. He didn't play this year because he's a scumbag. I'm just saying that's the way you worded it. You were like, he's gonna come in next year knowing he's a starter. Well, he knows he's the starter now.
That's true, but I'm saying like he had to split reps pretty much all training camp because Jacoby was going to be the guy. Like you go in next year, you don't have to split those reps. That's more so what I was getting at, not job security.
It's to grow with his group.
That's just, that's assuming Deshaun stays out of massage parlors and stuff. Long, lonely winters in Cleveland, bro.
I really hope, and we're gonna have. I don't think he. But
I don't think he gets back there though. To answer your question,
watching our pick'em segment, we're about to throw up the pick'em segment. I hope that Betting and Heels isn't watching our pick'em segment because she's kicking our ass this whole year. But
I hope he does too. In all honesty, Control, because he is an exciting player to watch.
I don't think he gets back to his Houston days per se, but I also think that this team they won't ask him to do that because he has Nick Chubb back there. I think Stefanski, as long as he's there, he will have it where, they won't try to ask him to be the superstar, Superman, go do this, go do that. I think they'll try to rely on Chubb because that's really more of what the identity is and what Stefanski
they better get back to it. They better get back to turning around and giving that man the ball 25 times a game.
I know.
They're another one. They're getting too cute too. I don't know what they're doing.
Don't get me started.
Let's get into
Chubb got 14 carries. Wow.
We don't need to look at this too long. This is a very bad list. Below 500.
Rebound. I'm only one game behind Cottrell. Oh, right.
All right, guys. We got an NFL pick'em this week. Shally, Cottrell, me. Let's go. Let's improve on this. This starts the comeback.
I got winners this week, so
winners.
That's all I know.
All right. Let's start off Uncle Shally Super Sunday Fade Pick Corner. First game I'm going to start with. This is probably going to be a little dicey because of what happened today. So, this could change. This game might get pushed, might even get moved. But I'm taking New Orleans -4 at home. They're getting Rashawn Lattimore back. New Orleans has shown flashes of life for minute, 5 minutes, maybe a quarter at a time. Atlanta's going to go in there. They're going to start Desmond Ridder this week. They've officially benched Marcus Mariota. So New Orleans always plays well at home. It's one thing they do. I'm going to stick with New Orleans -4 at home. I think they score enough against that Atlanta defense. And like I said, they get Marshawn Lattimore back. The defense is close to 100%. Maybe they'll actually play up to their billing. So that's what I'm relying on here. So my first pick, New Orleans -4. The second pick, riding with the Eagles, -8.5 at Chicago. That Chicago defense, I think, is just going to get chopped up. I think the Eagles are going to deploy a game plan very similar to last week. I think you're going to get a lot of Miles Sanders at the beginning to soften up the defense. And I think Jalen Hurts is going to go to work with Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. Outside chance Dallas Goedert comes back this week, but I don't think they do. I think they hold him out. But I like Philadelphia big away. I think Justin Fields shines again for Chicago. I just don't think he shines enough because he's by himself. So I will take Philadelphia -8.5 at Chicago. My last game, I'm going to take the LA Chargers -2.5 at home against Tennessee. We talked about Tennessee earlier. They're one of the couple teams in the NFL, and right now they're in a free fall. Chargers are getting healthy. Again, the Mike Williams, Keenan Allen combo being back on the field. Offense is starting to look like it did, end of last year. They're slowly getting there. Might hit their stride at the right time at the end of the year. Maybe Justin Herbert goes into the playoffs and steals a game from somebody. But I like the Chargers at home against Tennessee. Tennessee doesn't really have an identity right now. It's hand the ball to Derrick Henry, and if that doesn't work, they're lost even more so than they usually are. Ryan Tannehill's looked terrible all year for the most part. And the defense has been on the field too much this year. They're starting to get tired. They're breaking down. I like the Chargers at home -2.5.
That's the picks. Cottrell, give me your 3.
All right, so I will start off with a game that I actually fully agree with Bill on, and that's the Chargers -2.5 or 3 against the Titans. I think I agree with everything that Bill said there, and I think that Chargers team, they're going to really feed off of getting that big win over the Dolphins last week. So I think this will be a week where you see, Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and those guys. They continue to build off that chemistry that they had last week, and I think they get a big win against Tennessee. My next pick, I like the Vikings -4.5 versus the Colts. Obviously, the Colts have been playing horrible as of late. They're basically free falling now. They've hired Jeff Saturday. It looked good at first because they got that win, and then it's been all downhill from there. And I think with the way that the Vikings have been playing, the way that the offense has been playing specifically, I think Jay Jettis is due for, another 150-plus game. He just came off the quietest 200-yard game, it feels like, in NFL history last week. And so I think, Jay Jettis, he rebounds off of that, and the Vikings win big in that one. I think that's a 2-possession game. Then the last game, the backup quarterback bowl, the Cardinals at the Broncos. Give me the under 36.5. I just don't see how it gets there. The Broncos have struggled to score all year, and I know they scored some touchdowns last week against the Chiefs. I don't see that being sustainable for them. Nathaniel Hackett hasn't figured out what to do with that offense. And then the Cardinals, they lost their quarterback Kyler Murray to a torn ACL. I don't think that offense is going to be able to move the ball, so I think the under 36.5 is going to be a lock there. Those are my picks for the week.
All righty, gentlemen. I have 3, and I have a lean. I'll give you a lean as a little bonus. Doesn't count, obviously. I can't cheat. I wish I could. I'll cheat all day. By the way, I would take Desmond Ridder over Brock Purdy, and I think they both stink, if I'm being honest. 2 favorites, 1 dog. First one, I agree 100% with Gittrell. Give me the Vikings to bounce back over Indy. I'm fading Jeff Saturday. I'm fading them all rest of the year. The Vikings are a good football team. The Colts are not a good football team. I think the Vikings win this game. I think they win it big. I don't think that the Colts defense has anything to slow down that Vikings offense, and I don't think that Matt Ryan's going to be able to move the ball versus the Vikings defense. I think this game gets out of hand. I think it gets out of hand quick. Give me the Vikings. -4, 4.5, whatever you get it at. Doesn't matter. Flex them up to 6.5. Doesn't matter. Next one on the docket. I think this is one of those 100%ers to me. Give me the Cowboys -4 over the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. I would love to tell you that Trevor Lawrence puts the Jaguars on his back and beats the Cowboys defense, but that pass rush is something fierce with Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. They'll be feasting to get back on the football field. They'll have a good week of practice after an awful showing versus the Texans. I think they go and beat up the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. Upset special coming. I hope this doesn't happen. I hope I'm wrong, but give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers +3.5 over the Cincinnati Bengals. Hopefully the Bengals win this game by 3. And I'm right, and the Bengals still win the football game. But everything I look at points to the fact that the Buccaneers are going to win this football game. I think it's a trap line for Cincinnati. I think it's a letdown game, and I think that the Buccaneers come back home after getting beat up at San Fran, have a good week of practice, and get back on the horse and win that football game. So give me the Buccaneers +3.5. And my lean, 100% lean, give me the over 48, 49, whatever you get it at, in Philadelphia versus Chicago. Chicago defense isn't stopping anybody. The Eagles offense should score 30 plus on them. And if Justin Fields plays, the Chicago Bears will score points because Justin Fields has been electric and been moving the ball outside the pocket, been running the ball, running for over 100 yards, multiple games this year. So the over 47, 48, 49, whatever you get it at, I'll take. That's it. Let me see where that over-under's at. 48.5. I was close. We got to move on. We got a Mount Rushmore bracket to talk about. And we're picking winners this week. And what are we doing? The 5-point thing and a 5-vote thing, how it works out. And then the listeners, or do you want to lower it to 3 votes so the listeners get more of a pick? Our votes have to count for 1 vote.
I mean, this is only it's the Final Four, so.
We agreed that the Final Four would be listeners voting.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying, are we going to keep it the same voting for the finals, or if we do 3 now, should we do 5 for the finals, or
3
what?
3 votes per host. So if we sweep, it's 9-0. It's really tough to overcome that. Fair
enough. I like that.
All right, where we starting? East or West, boys? I know where I'm going in both. I already understand it. And I've already thought about this one. There's going to be no wishy-wash for me this week. I know where I'm going in both. Where are we starting?
It's starting the East, I guess.
Starting the East. Even though
Boston versus New York. Listen, New York's Motorers Row is incredible. You got Babe Ruth, Lawrence Taylor, Joe DiMaggio, Lou Gehrig. It's incredible, but their run ends here, in my opinion. Boston's got the greatest quarterback, greatest football player ever to lace him up, and Tom Brady. You have Ted Williams, the best hitter ever, very comparable to Ted Williams, very comparable to Babe Ruth. So if you go Ted Williams or Babe Ruth, very comparable there. Football player, I give the edge to Tom Brady over Lawrence Taylor. And then you can continue to go Larry Legend, Larry Bird, or Lou Gehrig or Joe DiMaggio. I'm taking Bird. And then Bobby Orr's third best hockey player ever to play the game. Give me Boston in this one. I like Boston. I think Boston is the favorite to win it all. I hate picking Boston, but that is incredible. Like when you really think about it, you got the greatest football player ever. You got the sixth best NBA player ever. You have the greatest hitter ever. And you have the third best hockey player ever. I'll take Boston. Bill Russell did not make it on Boston's Mount Rushmore. We talked about this earlier, Nick Dolis. It was Bill Russell or Larry Bird. We did a poll in a lot of Boston media chats, and Larry Bird edged out Bill Russell. And listen, me and Control have talked about this before. And Bill, I don't know if he agrees, disagrees. He thinks Larry's overrated. I don't know. But I think I have Larry Bird 6th overall, 7th overall. I have Bill Russell outside my top 10. So
I don't think I ever said Larry Bird was overrated. I just said I didn't have him 6. I said I had him lower in my top 10.
Boston is very deep.
It's a little bit of a stretch.
List could have made the Elite Eight. Their backup list could have made the Elite Eight. Bill Russell, David Ortiz, like their backup list could have made the Elite Eight. What do you got, Control? Or Bill, you going second?
No, Control can go.
I got Boston too. I think Gene's breakdown of it was very on point. You know, they got a lot of positional matchups that match up well. Obviously, you know, Brady versus LT, you know, you got to give the edge to Brady there. Although, you know, LT was as dominant as they come. And then across the board, Boston just, New York has those guys. Boston's guys are just a little bit better, you know. So I got Boston in this one too. And I would say before we seeded everything, and even when we were just thinking about cities and everything, Boston was one of those teams that I thought would be here in the end, and here they are. And I fully expect them to be in the final.
You going New York or Boston?
I'm going New York.
Okay.
I think I'll agree with Gene. I think football-wise, I think Boston has an edge with Brady over Taylor. I'll take Babe Ruth over Ted Williams. And the other two, I think, is where it gets tricky. I'll take Lou Gehrig over Larry Bird and a slight edge there. And I think DiMaggio and Bobby Orr are probably very, very close. Obviously, there's been way more baseball players and hockey players in the history of the sport. But Bobby Orr, probably better than Joe DiMaggio. But I'll go a slight, 51-49 edge in New York. So I'll go New York.
That's great for the listeners, though. They get to vote on something that's not already decided. So it's 6-3 going into the voting stage. We'll post both pictures on the Facebook page. We'll share it out. We'll have the finals right before next week. So we'll have that posted. So we got Boston right now up 6-3. They didn't win yet. We'll post it in the New York Yankees chat room. I'm kidding. We're not going to do that. But hey, listen, guys, get your votes in. Let us know who you like. Hey, if you're in the comments right now, I see 15 people live watching just on YouTube. If you guys are in the comments right now, comment what side you would be on, Boston or New York here. All right, so this one's pretty easy for me too. And I'll go first on both of them. I don't mind. So San Fran has Joe Montana, what I consider is the second greatest quarterback ever. They have Steph Curry, who is a top 10, 11, 12 player basketball of all time. Jerry Rice, who's the greatest receiver ever to step on the field. San Fran as a whole, and then they have the greatest baseball player to ever play baseball in Willie Mays. I think San Fran's unbeatable. I think San Fran's my pick to win it all. I listen, all the great things we want to talk about LA won. Kareem's probably the third best NBA player of all time. Kobe's fourth on my list. He might be fifth, sixth, or seventh on somebody else's. That's fine. So you have Kareem, you have Kobe, you have Magic, who's probably fifth. So you have 3, 4, 5 NBA of all time, and Sandy Koufax, who's the best left-handed pitcher ever. It's a solid LA one. But I just think San Fran's better. Like basketball, yeah, you have the edge to LA 1. But other than that, man, Montana's 2, Rice is 1 in his position, and Willie Mays is the best baseball player ever.
I think the one thing though that is kind of I don't want to say misleading because that's not the right word. You say Montana is 2. Like, yes, I think he is 2 when it comes to quarterbacks, but I'm not going to say Joe Montana is the second greatest football player ever. Like, I don't know if I can say that with like conviction. Quarterback, okay. I agree. Quarterback is the most important position in the game, but I can't say it with as much conviction as you do, I guess, is what I'll say. So that's, I think fair. I when I look at it a little bit differently from there. And, you know, if you want to break it down like that, I would say, you know, you're going to argue that Kareem is either the best or the second best center of all time. If you just want to go positional groups instead of going, you know, full range like that. And if you go that way, you match up Kareem and Joe, you know, I would say they're not necessarily even, but that would be the closest matchup there for me. Magic and Steph, they play the same. Exactly. Magic and Steph, they play the same position. And right now, I would have Magic the edge over Steph. Okay. Kobe and Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice is the best receiver of all time. Kobe Bryant is the second best shooting guard of all time. You got to give the edge to Jerry there. So then for me, it would come down to Willie Mays or Sandy Koufax. And
it's not close.
Exactly. I'm not going to say it's not close, but the
Willie Mays and Sandy Koufax are not close.
It's not close.
Yes. Now I'm not going to say
Sorry, we said it for you.
Position wise, you know, Sandy, like you
Sandy
said,
Koufax is never ever going to come up in the conversation for best baseball player ever. Willie Mays is in every single conversation.
Position groups though.
Are you voting LA one?
Groups though. I'm going San Francisco here, but I'm going position groups because they got it. It was a wash. I think San Francisco wins 2-1-1. Like, I think they won 2.
I can see that.
They lose 1, and they split the other one.
When we talk about football players, I know it's unfair because we're talking about positions, and I get that. I could see you saying that Kareem over Montana to make the argument for LA. I could see that. I can understand that. But Jerry Rice, if you like line football players up as a whole, right? Like all their greatness in any position, Jerry Rice could be number 1. He could be. Now, Brady is number 1 because he's the most important player at the most important position with the most championships. I understand that. But, what more could Jerry Rice have done?
I mean, absolutely.
And there's very few positions in any sport where there's no argument who the greatest ever is at the position. And if you want to argue Randy Moss, I'm going to tell you that you didn't watch enough Jerry Rice. It's the truth. Jerry Rice is like the Wayne Gretzky to his position. There's no argument. He's the best wide receiver ever. Wayne Gretzky's the best hockey player ever. Willie Mays is the best baseball player ever. There's an argument to Willie Mays' part, but I got San Fran this one. You picking San Fran too? Is it going to be 9-0? We going 9-0 here?
I mean, I pretty much said as much last week. I'm picking San Fran. LA 1 shouldn't even be here.
Would you pick San Fran over LA too?
I would pick San Fran over LA too, but it's a way better argument.
Okay.
San Fran's anchored by, we could say what we want about certain people. Willie Mays is probably the best person in this whole bracket. Maybe if you want to take everybody out and rank them, you know, all 64 players, Willie Mays is number 1. Best baseball player.
Boston versus San Fran. My Lord, that's an argument.
Yeah, I'll take San Fran. I mean, you're the second best quarterback. You can't have him really any lower than 3 or 4. I still think that trumps. It definitely trumps Kareem. Kobe somewhere in the 6 to 10 range on most lists. I think and Steph's a little tough because you still have to project a little bit. He's definitely the best basketball shooter in the history of the game. And I still think he has a chance to pass Magic. So, I honestly don't think this is that close. But don't.
Okay, and I'm not. I hear it. So 9-0 San Fran.
I had to make the argument for LA1. I figured it was going to be a sweep.
You should have after you picked them last week. Somebody better stand up for them.
LA1 deserved to be here, though. They deserved to be here.
You can't call LA1 a bunch of bums, bro. He's the 3rd, 4th, 5th NBA basketball players of all time.
That's not consensus at all.
All right. So your argument.
My argument was simple.
You have Magic. What's the lowest you have Kobe? What's the lowest you have Kareem? The lowest.
Kareem and Magic are both top 5. I think most people don't have Kobe in the top 5.
I have Kobe. 6, 7.
He's 1, 2, 3, he's 6 or 7.
Okay, so what you're saying is you just value baseball players more than you value basketball players.
That's not what I'm saying.
Follow me for 1 minute. 1 minute. I promise.
Go ahead.
You have the 3, 6, and 7 or 3, 5, and 7 baseball players of all time. And you just picked New York 1. That's what that is, right? Willie Mays is 1. What do you have? Babe Ruth 2, 3?
Babe Ruth's top 3 or 4.
Okay,
There's no way around it.
And Garrick's what, 5?
Garrick's top 10.
8.
Garrick's better than DiMaggio.
I agree. It's Garrick 5, DiMaggio 8. That's what I just said. But my point being is, you voted for New York 1. It's the same thing.
I'm not gonna lie, it is pretty similar.
No, my whole gripe with LA1 over LA2 is, you've all these top 10 guys. This whole thing was about greatness. There is nobody that is the best at their sport on LA1, and you debatably have 2 people on LA2. That, to me, would have trumped it from the get-go. Serena Williams is, without a doubt, the best female tennis player ever. Yeah. It's getting harder and harder to make an argument about Nicklaus and Woods. Those 2 alone trump. They're greater at their sports than anybody on LA1. That was my whole gripe with it.
I get it. Listen,
that alone wins it for me.
I understand your gripe, but upsets happen. And I don't think either one of the LA teams, could have trumped San Fran. So the final we're going to look at is going to have San Fran in it, whether we had LA1 or LA2 win it.
So as it sits right now, I'm kind of curious after you said that, Bill. I know we're still going to the vote. It's not over, but in the hypothetical sense.
No, we'll do that next week, though. We'll debate Boston versus San Fran next week.
No. Not that. I'm talking about my bronze medal game. Okay. LA won and New York won because I think those 2 match up so well, especially based off what you just said.
That's fair.
So we can talk about that next week if you want to do it that way. Okay. That's fine.
See, the difference to me is Koufax versus Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor, I'd take a million out over Koufax. So that's why I would take New York 1 over LA 1, because I think the basketball versus the baseball is a wash. I think you look at that and you're like, it's a wash.
We'll do gold medal and bronze medal next week. That'll be fun.
I'm down. Let's do it. We'll talk about it next week. Great debate, man. I love this Mount Rushmore bracket. It was super fun.
Look at me. Segway Sim at it again, because we got to talk about gold medal and bronze medals.
Bro, you didn't put France
in? They hadn't made it yet. Now they're here. France won 2-0 for everybody watching. They're in. Morocco's in the 3rd place game. They'll face Croatia.
He was too busy worried about his timing for Segway Simpson. He fucking
France versus Argentina. Don't cry for me, Argentina. Lionel Messi versus Mbappe and France. I had neither one of these teams in my final. I am a loser that does not know about grass ping pong, and that's okay. I love the fact that you have two superstars in the finals. I think it would have been terrible if Croatia or Morocco made the finals because I don't know any players on their team.
I mean, listen, you need star power, but I mean, that being said, Cottrell had France, so I'll defer to Cottrell and let him go first here.
I don't know why my mic's all muted here. I mean, I think it's important to see about how we got here. France played a good game today against Morocco. It was 1-0 for the majority of the game. They scored a second goal late, and Argentina is just they've looked dominant at times, and then other times they've just found ways to win. I think Argentina they've played sound ball so far, and they've had some penalties go their way. I feel like they've taken the most penalties so far of this tournament. But I mean, they're still here. There's a dominant game against Croatia. That game was never in doubt. And like you said, Gene, it's nice that we get two bona fide superstars on the biggest stage.
Apparently, Kyle Edwards is 100% like you guys. I should just exit out and let Kyle jump on. He's a huge kicky ball fan, grass ping pong guy. But he said that Messi and Mbappe are tied for the Golden Boot as well.
Correct.
So the winner of this game probably gets the Golden Boot too.
No, it's about points. So,
well, the tiebreaker's points. If they both finish with the same amount of goals, then it'll go to who has the more assists. If one of them scores the championship and the other one doesn't, that one will win the Golden Boot.
Yeah, but I mean, it win or lose though. Even if Mbappe,
you sticking with France, or you sticking with your pick?
Absolutely. France has looked exactly like how I thought they would look pretty much all tournaments so far. And I think my biggest thing right now too is France needs to be smart. Like I said, Argentina has been the beneficiary of a lot of penalty kicks, and when you have Lionel Messi one-on-one with the goalkeeper with a penalty shot, that's going in the back of the net 95% of the time. So I think if France plays a smart game and they stay in their spots defensively and they don't try to get too aggressive, and they don't let Argentina get those PKs, I think France should win this game. I do think it's going to be one where we see some goals get scored. I'll go 3-2 France in the final on Sunday.
Bill?
I'm going to give you a bit more of a breakdown. So Kyle brought up a good point. Winners of the World Cup, it's only happened twice. Italy was the first team. It hasn't happened since 1958, 1962 when Brazil did it. So that's what France is trying to, put that extra line in the old history books for themselves this year. I think it's important to note how well France has played to get here, considering they're missing debatably two of their top 5 players that got hurt pre-tournament, in Paul Pogba and Karim Benzema. Both starters, both world-class players, and they're still playing. So I think that's commendable. I break it down this way. Like I said, we're looking at, can France repeat versus can Messi finally win a cup and, get on a donkey and ride off into the sunset. Breaking it down positionally, goalkeeping wise, Hugo Lloris versus Emiliano Martinez. I'll take Hugo Lloris there all day. He had 2 or 3 huge saves today against Morocco. He's on fire right now. Defenders can be anchored. France can be anchored by Konate and Varane versus most likely Otamendi and Romero in the middle for Argentina. Those are the guys that are going to be dealing with Mbappe and Messi, respectively. I'll go slight edge to France there. If you saw them play defense today, if U.S. would have did what they did today against the Netherlands, the U.S. probably might still have a chance of playing. They are very disciplined in their box. They stay in their lanes. They always have 2 or 3 guys in the middle of the box looking for the cutback pass off the touchline. That's what killed the U.S. They are very, very structured and disciplined in their own 18. Midfield, I'm going to go slight edge with Argentina. Griezmann's been great. He's played his ass off all tournament. Starting to look a little weird and a little tired. What?
I said Drew too. Drew's played well.
Yeah, he has, but he still plays more up top like a normal striker. But Drew kind of floats there. I counted him. I'll do the attackers next, but I counted him up front for that. But Griezmann's been holding it down. Again, he's missing Pogba. Drew would normally slot further back there if Benzema's still playing. But with DePaul and Fernandez, I'll definitely give the advantage to Argentina there. And then we get to the moneymakers, the upfront guys. Got Mbappe, Dembele, Giroud versus Messi and Alvarez. Alvarez played like a tank against Croatia. The kid couldn't be stopped. If you get that type of performance again, this is a very interesting game. I'm still giving a slight edge to Mbappe because I think he's the best player on the planet right now. Didn't do too much today. Had a couple really impressive runs, but didn't really factor in too much. I know he contributed on the second goal, but that was off a deflection. That's not what he was really trying to do. So slight edge to France there. I also agree with Cottrell. I'm going France 3-2 in the final. I would bet heavy if you're going to bet this game on both teams to score. I would bet heavy on over 2.5. I haven't seen the numbers yet for over 3.5 yet, but depending on what they were, I'd probably lay some money on that as well. Anytime goal score, it's very hard to think either Mbappe or Messi don't score in this game. So if you're looking to put some such cheddar on the game, I think all those are very viable bets.
Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is I never left you. I got Argentina. I'm going to go Argentina 2-1. Lionel Messi scores both goals, leaves on the saddle, World Cup champion, and just takes his shoes off on the field. Just never comes back. This just cancels his contract overseas like the last soccer game he ever plays.
I feel like that I haven't seen yet that true chink in France's armor yet. That's why I feel like that's why I am where I am right now.
Give me Messi,
you could even say the England game. Like, I know Harry Kane missed the crucial PK in that game that would have tied it up, but just the way that France has been running, I don't see it.
Okay, well, I'm going with Argentina. Give me Argentina. You already have him there. They're already in the winner's circle by himself. So good job.
Ugh, man.
Oh, we got some UFC talk. Let's get into UFC real quick, and then we'll do You Got to Be Kidding Me. Here's my extent of UFC talk. I can't do that. There's people that are waiting for us to talk about this. But my extent of UFC talk would be Paddy the Baddy lost. It feels like a fixed sport, and I wanted him to win, and I still am telling you he lost. I'm not, proud enough to pretend that he did win. I think it's even more obnoxious that he's been on multiple shows talking about it makes him angry to hear people say he won. I don't know how anyone or lost. I don't know how anyone could see him losing. Like, I'm like, bro, I don't know if you watched the same fight I watched. Like, you should rewatch it again. And that was the big controversy tonight. And to talk about the light heavyweight title for a second, I'm glad it was a draw because that division stinks, and I don't think anybody deserves the title. Like, I'm just telling you like it is. The card, like the fights before that, were actually really good.
I figured it would be. Usually those clunkers
fights are exactly what I expected them to be. Absolute dog shit. And it was not worth my money. It would have been a really good fight night, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that sticks out to me was at the end when Jan went up and said, give him the belt. He won. I thought that was classy. Other than that, I mean, it was that fight was literally a tale of two halves of a fight. I think Jan definitely won the first half of it, and then that 10-8 round in the fifth. I mean, that's what made it a draw. If he doesn't get that, I think they're giving the fight to Jane and giving him the belt back. I don't know if that's deservedly so or not, but
you're talking about
that's
Peter
where we're headed.
You're talking about Jan.
Yeah. So that was the crazy part of that. The Patty fight was a disgrace from just the whole thing. You've seen the video with Daniel in the crowd with his corner acting like he knew it was going to be okay. It wasn't a good look. You have the video of Joe Rogan making a crazy face when they read the decision and saying Patty won. Not a good look again. Rogan went on the show and flat out said it's in his recent memory said it's the worst decision he's ever seen. Usually with these things, you get if it's a tough decision or close, you always get people, kind of like Gene said, like on both sides of the fence. Every professional fighter that watched that fight that was on Twitter all said it was robbery. Like nobody understands how Patty won that fight. And then you factor into the judging. I'm not sure if you guys saw it today, but the judge, that Doug Crosby judge, is actually under investigation now.
Yep.
He was the guy that the week before in the Bellator. I'm going to get to that in a second.
I think it was like the day before. I think he judged that fight Friday night.
Maybe it was Friday night. I thought it was the weekend before, but he is the first judge ever to award a fighter that lost a fight a 50-45 scorecard in their favor. The other two judges had it 49-48 for the guy who won the fight. He had it 50-45 for the guy that lost the fight, and then flew to Vegas and judged this fight and messed this one up too. So he's under investigation now.
All three of them messed it up though, bro.
I agree, but to Gene's other point, I think with this now going on, we didn't get a chance to talk about it before, but with the James Krause thing that happened 2 weeks before that, being let go because they got pretty much caught fixing fights. I think this is going to blow up. I think this is going to be a thing, and I think you're going to start seeing dominoes start to fall. I think people are getting paid. Boxing has gone through this a couple times, unfortunately, and I think UFC is about to go through it for the first time. It's just becoming too prevalent. I mean, we talked about the Peter Yan thing earlier. There's been so many of them this year that just don't make any sense, and this was the worst one of them.
Sean O'Malley talking about this fight drove me up a friggin' wall. Sean O'Malley talking about how Paddy the Baddy should stop complaining he lost the fight is like the most rich thing I've ever seen in my life. Like it's like, but I have a couple stats I wanted to bring up because I knew we were going to talk about it a little bit more.
I feel like the O'Malley one was a little bit different. Yeah, I think Jan won it. And I said he won it, but
it wasn't as bad.
O'Malley got it off of a split decision too. Correct. Like this being unanimous across the board, and they're not even sure. All the judges didn't even agree on the same rounds that Patty won.
I know. And I see that.
That's the craziest part about it to me.
Like, how can Patty the third round?
I don't even know how that's possible. Like that should automatically
get you Patty the third round.
That should automatically get you fired from judging this kind of thing.
Yeah, he said he won the first two. He knew he was winning the fight, so he just didn't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, so I don't know how you give him like that third round. And when you're in a fifth, I think Joe Rogan said it best. When you're in a 15-minute fight, how can someone else have 7 minutes of control time and lose in a decision?
That's what I was about to say.
That does not make any possible sense.
In order for that to happen,
they have to goddamn fight.
You would have to hear the significant strikes or the total strikes be lopsided on the other end.
Correct.
Right? I'm going to read you something real quick. I had it ready for this part. 100-97 total strikes for Gordon. So he outstruck him. 3 takedowns to 0. Gordon. So he took him down more. 6 minutes and 28 seconds control time to 35 seconds control time. Gordon. I don't know what part of that. I don't understand. I'm blown. My mind's blown.
I mean, I think for me, at least, that just goes to show as much as they want to strap a rocket to, and Jared Gordon's not a top level guy. Like, he's not a ranked guy. But as much as the UFC wants to strap a rocket to Patty's back, in that lightweight division, he is getting mauled by everybody in the top 15 and some guys outside of it. Like, you put him in there with
personality, he's a good show.
Absolutely, yeah. You put him in there though with even the Michael Chandlers of the world who are down at 6'7", like RDA, anybody. Hell, Terrence McKinney, like he can't touch any of these guys in the top 15.
Dana looks at him, and Dana wants him to be Conor 2.0 so badly. The difference is he's nowhere near in the stratosphere of a fighter that Conor was at that point. Especially early Conor when he was healthy, when he was hungry, and wanted to take over the world and prove himself. He's just not that good of a fighter. He's just not. I mean, and it's nothing against him. Like Gene said, I think he's a great personality. I think he's great for the sport. That dude is never going to be a top 5 fighter. Ever.
No. And to move on to the main event fight, I was confused at this one because I had Ankalaev winning the fight. I don't understand the scoring, though, and I need someone to help me. 48-47 for Blachowicz. How's that possible?
They didn't award. I don't believe they awarded that last.
They didn't go 10-8 last round.
It was like
what I'm saying is they had him winning 3-2 and didn't get a 10-8 round. Like, that should be investigated. Like, I'm not like I'm not.
They're saying Blachowicz won. Yeah, they're saying Blachowicz won 1-3, and then he won 4-5, but just gave him a 10-9 in the fifth.
I get it, but my point being is, I'm all right with 47-47. I'm not all right with you leaning his way in the third round and then not giving the 10-8 either.
Yeah.
The issue with that is there is no there, and that's the problem really with UFC the past few years. Yeah. There's no way to really know when a 10-8 round is being awarded. Like, is oftentimes that I think 10-8 rounds should happen. Like I said even in the Aljo fight in Peter Yan, I thought there should have been a 10-8 round there, and you just make it a draw, make them fight again for the belt. Yep. But they don't do the 10-8 rounds consistently enough. Like, I feel like if someone dominates you for the majority of the round, like that should be a 10-8 round. And I mean, you even saw it with the first fight not the first fight, but another fight on that card, Darren Till and the guy he fought, Duplessis. That first round should have been a 10-8 round, and I don't believe it was on any judge's scorecard. And Darren Till was dominated for 4 minutes 30 seconds of that fight. So
it didn't matter.
I mean,
Duplessis got the neck crank.
Yeah, he won, so it didn't ultimately matter. But like the way that they do the judging in the UFC is so inconsistent, and that's why you have such an issue with it right now. And I absolutely think this is turned into boxing where you already have the outbreak of people fixing fights and things like that, and it's only going to get worse when you have all these fans that have been watching it for so long, and they know how to, they know what to do.
The biggest problem with UFC, they are starving for stars, because the biggest time that they had was when the star era. It was the Conor Ronda era. And like, I'm not trying to be a smartass when I say this. John Jones was during that era. But you had John Jones, Ronda Rousey, Conor McGregor in all different divisions that were stars. Mm-hmm. So when they see someone like Patty or Sugar Shane
Anderson to a degree.
Correct. But Sugar Sean O'Malley, when you see people like that, like they're trying to force them to be stars, when in reality the people respected the sport so much more if you just called it like it was.
Well,
yeah, people are still going to watch.
Yeah, it's that, and it's a combination of
they're looking for the casual fan,
having
guy that just orders Conor pay-per-views.
In regards to, like you were saying, stars too. I mean, look what else has happened in 2022. You could say whatever you want, about Masvidal, but the dude has a huge following and is super popular.
Correct.
He has the thing with Colby, hasn't fought since. They can't throw him on pay-per-view anywhere. And then you have your two longest reigning champs both lose in 2 months apart in Usman and Izzy. It's been a bad year marketing wise for UFC.
You couldn't have said that
year.
better. Yeah, let's move on to You Gotta Be Kidding Me, gentlemen. All right, so I have a great one this week. I hope you guys have some good ones because I sent you guys mine last night. I wish that I could share the video. Like, it's probably copyright issues, but it's hilarious. But go ahead, Control, start us off.
So I got mine late yesterday, I would say, and it's from the Bucks and Warriors game. Draymond Green was getting into it with a fan, and I'll preface this: it's not a great one this week. Not a funny one. Normally I get you going. I'm very random with it, but last night the Warriors were getting handled by the Bucks. Third quarter, they're down 20, and a fan is chirping at Draymond, and Draymond gets the official's attention, and he's like, "Hey, I need you to throw this guy out." He's making a big scene about it. It was a dead ball at the time, and Draymond was not going to resume play until this fan was removed. Ultimately, security came in, they ejected him from the game, and he went on, about the game, and that was that. Come to find out, the guy was giving Draymond Green all types of death threats and giving just threats about him and his family, things like that. So I understand, it's your home arena. You're gonna be a heckler, like you're gonna get on these guys, especially if you're beating them by 20. But there's a line that you can't cross, and that is that line. If you want to say Draymond sucks, he's a horrible player, he should be out the NBA, things like that. I'm all for that, but there's a certain line you can't cross. And I thought at first, Draymond was just being a little dramatic to the situation because his team was losing, and he was kind of just being a sore loser about it. But if that were the case, and what he says is true about the situations, fans just have to know which lines that they can and can't cross, and that's the line you can't cross. So for that this week, for me, Draymond and the Milwaukee fan from last night.
On, you gotta be kidding me.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Control. Bill?
All right. I'm going with kind of a funny one. I'm going to go with New Orleans Saints, Cameron Jordan this week. If you're not familiar, you got fined $50,000 the other day for faking an injury by the NFL. I think the NFL came down hard on the coaching staff. I believe Dennis Allen got fined like $350K. A couple of the other coaches got fined as well. Some of the coordinators. In the New Orleans Tampa Bay game, 4th and 17 late in the game. New Orleans, I think, thought that Tampa Bay was going to go for it. They kept their offense on the field for a long time. New Orleans didn't want to burn a timeout, and you could see when you see Cameron Jordan, the clip of Cameron Jordan, you could see him look at his coaches 2 or 3 times, and then all of a sudden he just drops to the ground and starts holding his foot. His excuse was that he had a hurt ankle, and then they went and got an MRI, and the MRI revealed that the injury in his foot was actually in his foot, not in his ankle. The biggest problem became, and the NFL did some more digging on this, and they got the film from the NFL films, and they synced it up. And you could literally see certain coaches on the sideline, like tell them, like pointing to the ground, tell them to go down to get the injury timeout. Listen, there's one thing we can't have. I mean, listen, we all know soccer is famous for it. Unfortunately, the NBA is starting to catch on a little bit as well, and you have superstars that do it over there as well. Listen, the thing with the football thing is getting out of control. If you can't make it off the field because you're too gassed or your team's got to call a timeout, that's part of the game. You got to be in better shape. NFL teams run hurry up offense. It's been used for 30, 40 years now. It's just one thing I don't want to see in football. It's stupid. It's getting obvious now. People know you're doing it. He got caught and they made an example out of him. And the fact that he's walking around now saying that the NFL slandered his name and everything else, when there's literally video proof of it being done, that to me is too much. So this week, Cameron Jordan, you got caught red-handed, buddy. Pay that fine. Just take it on the chin and move on.
You gotta be kidding me.
I love the fact that you have Cheese, like it's the name of the movie.
Cheese.
So mine is a funny one too. Things are tough in Pittsburgh, man. I know the Pirates are not a good but things are really tough in Pittsburgh. So, we've had some serious free agent signings this offseason. Trey Turner, Aaron Judge, just recently Carlos Correa. Good for him getting a huge deal. Jacob deGrom changed homes. So did Justin Verlander. But the Pittsburgh Pirates made a marquee signing recently. And they had a hype video for their signing. Now, I haven't seen a hype video for Trey Turner, but I'm sure there's one out there. I haven't seen that many for Aaron Judge, but I'm sure there's one out there. I don't know how you're creating a hype video for Vince Velasquez. And, I looked it up. Maybe he had a great year last year. I was just like, maybe I'm missing something. He had a great year. No, he didn't. 5.56 ERA and 3-3 as a pitcher. Career 4.93 ERA with a 34-47 record. And the Pittsburgh Pirates did a hype video for signing Vince Velasquez. I'm sorry, but this is the low of the low. I can't understand how, in what world we've it's embarrassing. So for this week, this is the definition of you got to be kidding me.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Like, did you watch that video I sent out?
I did.
I was so, and like I watched it and they had music behind it, him putting the jersey on. I'm like, they did a hype video for Vince Velasquez.
You're like, did they just trade for Justin Verlander? Is that what's going on here?
That's what I felt like.
Do you know how disappointed you had been if you were a Pittsburgh Pirates fan and you signed on to Twitter the other day and you were breaking you see this overly produced video, hype video, they just got somebody, and then you sit there and watch it until the second minute and you find out it's Vince Velasquez. I would have just smashed my phone. It's oh man.
You got to find a new team at that point.
It's a shame, man. It's a shame that that team doesn't want to spend money.
That ballpark is so beautiful.
It's the prettiest ballpark in the major leagues, and they just won't spend money. It's wild.
They had a hype video for Vinny Velo. Gentlemen, any final thoughts for the evening?
I got nothing.
Nothing comes to mind.
I have a few. Please do us a favor. Download us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. We have already surpassed October in December. November's been a record month. We're trying to catch it. Having a decent month so far. I wouldn't say we're on pace to beat November, but we're getting close. And if we continue that upward trend on our downloads, it's big things for us. It's funny because Cottrell said this to me before the show, but we're monetized on a couple platforms where we have money in the account. Not much, but hey, listen, it's a step, right?
Always got to start somewhere.
But hey, we appreciate all the listeners and support on Facebook, iHeartRadio, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, whatever you listen to Wire to Wire Sports Podcast. We're gonna have the votes up tomorrow morning for the Mount Rushmore brackets. Cottrell's gonna post the pictures, and then we'll do a heart or a care emoji. We won't do the like because that's too easy to click it. For the Mount Rushmore pictures. I will post the contest for Bowl Mania. It'll be for a hoodie, and we'll make sure we get the hoodies out to Ty and Joe Tillman, and I know there's a third guy I have his name written down, and Scott. So we have 4 hoodies plus these 2 for this contest. We'll be ordering 6 hoodies. Check out Cutting Edge Sports Apparel, CSAs. My man Kurt Hensman, Billy Brancato, Connie. Appreciate everything they do. They help us with the new design, and we got the graphic designer on. She's done a great job so far. She's getting us our 2 new logos, so you'll be able to have options for merch. So Appreciate everybody tuning in to Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, show 114, as we continue to grow and get better. And this is us signing out.